That's not my tread. And that's fresh.
Craig Wilcox's channel is built around adventure, long hikes, wild camps, testing gear, and embracing the beauty and difficulty that nature has to offer. His videos usually balance preparation with optimism, showing that with the right mindset, even tough conditions can be rewarding. But one trip deep in the Brecon Beacons would remind him just how quickly an adventure can turn into a genuine emergency. Craig and his friend Chris set out for what was meant to be a challenging but manageable wild camp. Their plan was ambitious: hike up Penwy Fan, cross over Corn Du, then descend toward one of the lakes to camp for the night. They were well equipped, carrying heavy packs loaded with gear, food, and supplies. The weather forecast wasn't great, but nothing they hadn't handled before.
So yeah, we're all geared up and looking forward to it. Got some new gear to test out. A new second-hand tent that I've done a lot of repairs on, so the weather forecast is not the best, so I'm hoping that lasts. I've got about 14 kilos on my back. Chris the poo bugger, he's looking at about 18 kilos, so yeah, fair play to him. He's a better guy than me. So yeah, we will bring you back in a bit, guys.
At first, it felt like a typical mountain outing. Mist rolled in, visibility dropped, the air grew colder. As they climbed higher, rain turned to sleet, and sleet turned to snow. By the time they were pushing toward the summit, snow was settling fast, sticking to the ground and soaking into clothing. The landscape became quiet and white, beautiful in its own way, but unforgiving. Despite the conditions, they pressed on.
Okay, we're up on top of Penwy Fan. We made it. That was a slog in these conditions, ain't gonna lie. But we're up here. I think we've got a place to ourselves. Not surprised in these conditions. We expected a little dust in the snow, but they said it hasn't stopped now for a good 2 hours. So I think we're going to be pitching up in the snow as well when we come down the other side. I would show you a view, but I don't have one. It's a pretty steep drop.
Penwy Fan offered not really a reward that day. No views, no clear horizon, just snow, wind, and a steep descent waiting on the other side. And that's where everything changed.
Okay guys, so we've got a bit of a disaster.
While coming down from Corn Du, Chris slipped. The fall wasn't dramatic, but the pain was immediate. He couldn't put weight on his foot. In the freezing conditions, standing still wasn't an option. Craig acted fast, setting up the tent as quickly as possible to get Chris out of the wind and snow. Layers were added, blankets wrapped tight, hand and foot warmers placed wherever they could help. They were no longer adventurers chasing a destination. They were now managing a crisis.
But we've got the wolfskin tent set up very, very quickly. And got him inside, got him some help, which is the best we can do. Hold on, that tent needs to... So yeah, now I need to get warm myself. Okay guys, so like I said, we've had a little bit of an accident. Chris is, yeah, not feeling too good. Suspected broken ankle, but we've got him in a tent. We've got him in some warm clothes, we've got him wrapped up in a blanket, we've got some hand warmers and feet warmers on him to keep him nice and warm.
With conditions worsening and a suspected broken ankle, Craig made the call no one ever wants to make: mountain rescue. And then they waited. In the snow, in the dark. Knowing help was coming, but also knowing it would take time.
And yeah, we're just waiting on the mountain rescue now to come and bail us out. So lucky to have the England and Wales Mountain Rescue that we can call on in these situations. So guys, if you're watching this, I will leave a link below, but please donate to these guys. They provide a fantastic service to walkers.
When the rescue team finally crested the hill, the relief was overwhelming. 22 volunteers had responded to the call, supported by additional ground control and ambulance services. They worked methodically, calmly, carrying Chris down the mountain through brutal terrain in near whiteout conditions. It took hours. By the time they were off the mountain, it was late evening. Exhaustion had set in. But everyone was safe. Chris's injury, thankfully, wasn't a break. Severe ligament damage instead. Painful. Long recovery. But survivable. And in conditions like those, that outcome mattered more than anything else. Craig doesn't frame the experience as bad luck or misfortune. He treats it as a reminder that no matter how experienced you are, no matter how well you know the area, nature doesn't care about plans. Weather changes. One wrong step is all it takes. Preparation matters. Knowing how to react matters even more. And just as importantly, help doesn't come from nowhere. Mountain rescue teams are volunteers. Ordinary people who leave their homes, their families, their warm beds, to walk into storms so others can walk out alive. This trip didn't end in tragedy. There was no dramatic footage of the fall, no sensational moment caught on camera. But that's exactly why it belongs here, because sometimes the most important lessons come from the trips that almost go wrong. Let this be a reminder. Even familiar mountains demand respect. Even experienced hikers need contingency plans, and even the best adventures can turn serious without warning. Out there, preparation isn't optional. It's what turns a bad situation into a survivable one. Now, from an emergency in the mountains, we move to something very different. A short clip posted online that offers almost no explanation, no follow-up, and raises far more questions than answers. And that clip comes from a TikTok account called The Scream Sat Night. What immediately makes it stand out is how unusual the account itself is. There's only one video. No profile information, no follow-ups, no explanation beyond a short caption. According to the uploader, the footage was recorded at their vacation home, a place meant for rest and quiet, not fear. But instead of peaceful nights, they claim to wake up over and over again to the same thing. Screams, not once, not occasionally, but often enough that it became impossible to ignore. The sounds echo from the woods behind the house, cutting through the night and jolting them awake. The screams are long, raw, and unsettling. Not quite human, but not easily identifiable as an animal either. There's no visible movement in the darkness, no shape caught on camera, just sound. After the video was shared, the comment section flooded with theories. Some viewers were convinced it was Bigfoot, pointing to the depth and cadence of the screams. Others suggested more grounded explanations: elk, foxes, or mountain lions, all known for producing terrifying vocalizations that can sound almost human in the right conditions. But none of the theories fully satisfied everyone. What made the clip even more unsettling was the silence that followed. The account never posted again. No update, no explanation, no confirmation of what the sound turned out to be, or whether it ever stopped. So the video remains exactly as it is. A single recording, posted without context, capturing something screaming in the woods behind a holiday home in the dead of night. And until the uploader returns, if they ever do, all we're left with is speculation. So now I'm curious. What do you think was screaming out there in the darkness? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You probably know that unexplained sounds in the dark aren't limited to one place, and that takes us straight into this next encounter. That comes from the YouTube channel Man Dog Wild, run by Daryl, a true nature lover who has spent the past 4 years taking viewers along on wild camping, survival trips, and quiet moments deep in the outdoors. On this particular adventure, Daryl headed out for a stealth camping trip with his loyal dog, Yeti, hoping for a peaceful night surrounded by untouched nature. But almost immediately, things began to feel off. As they entered the thick brush to search for a place to pitch camp, Yeti's behavior changed. She began showing clear signs of unease. This was completely out of character. Yeti is a hunting dog by blood, confident, curious, and usually the first to push ahead. But this time, she slowed down. She stopped leading. Instead of exploring, she fell back. Once Daryl found a suitable spot to set up camp, Yeti's attention locked onto something hidden within the brush. Her posture stiffened. Her focus narrowed. Whatever had caught her attention was out of sight and out of sound for Daryl, but not for her. Throughout this clip, her gaze remains fixed on that same patch of brush, unwavering.
Yeti. What's this? Get the stick. Get the stick. Oh, you're not interested today. You're not interested?
For just a brief moment, Yeti breaks her stare, only to immediately return to full alertness. Eyes locked once again on the same area as if something unseen had never left. Again, Yeti behaves in a way Daryl has never seen before. She shows no interest in playing fetch, no excitement, no distraction. Instead, her awareness sharpens as she begins barking aggressively towards something off camera, buried somewhere in the brush.
Just completely went off barking. Something in here. Came over here. Nothing there. There ain't nothing there. What is it? She insists that we go and check out this area.
The intensity in her barking escalates, clearly defensive rather than playful, directed at something she senses but cannot see. After checking the surrounding area more closely, everything appears normal. There are no visible signs of anyone else nearby. The forest is quiet, empty. At least it seems that way.
Well, Yeti, I don't see much to be shouting about, huh? Why ain't you going in front? You're always in front.
As night falls, Yeti's unease doesn't fade. She paces around the campsite, restless and alert, never fully settling.
What is it?
She remains on edge, scanning their surroundings. Yeti then approaches Daryl and sits close, a behavior that later becomes telling, signaling a desire to leave rather than stay.
What are you unhappy about?
Sensing something isn't right, Daryl pauses to observe her behavior more closely. Together they sit and listen, trying to make sense of the unsettling atmosphere pressing in around them. Suddenly, a disturbance comes from the brush.
Yes. So we both heard something. She's freaking me out. You're freaking me out. Now I'm getting as paranoid as she is. Okay?
Yeti explodes into motion, sprinting toward the sound without hesitation, reacting to something Daryl still cannot identify. Eventually, the decision is made to bed down for the night, but the tension never leaves. The forest feels watched, heavy, unsettled. Throughout the dark hours, Yeti growls and barks repeatedly, reacting to movements and sounds only she seems to detect.
Truth on the face. Yes. Good morning.
Whatever had been lurking nearby never reveals itself in the darkness. But when morning finally arrives, The reason for Yeti's behavior begins to make sense. At first light, Daryl breaks camp and prepares to leave the area, unwilling to spend another moment there.
That's not my track. And that wasn't there yesterday. So this is my track. This is not my track. See the different treads. Look at this. See? That's not my tread. And that's fresh.
As they move away, Daryl stumbles across something on the ground, evidence that likely explains why Yeti had been on edge from the very beginning. Moments later, Yeti picks up a scent.
Hey. She smells something.
She begins trailing it with focus and precision, offering a final clue as to where whoever, or whatever, had been lurking around their campsite during the night. The trail eventually leads to firmer ground, where no more tracks can be followed.
See, coming through here, you can't lay down tracks, because it's too hard. So it shows, right? They may not always listen to you, but you should always listen to them. There. 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 Oh, camp's there.
Daryl never comes face to face with whoever had been nearby that night. But the most important detail is clear. Yeti knew from the moment they entered that area that something was wrong. Sometimes the wilderness doesn't announce danger, but it's the ones who walk beside us, the ones who sense what we can't, who know first. But in the next clip, Sarah's dog didn't warn at all, because it was sudden, and maybe that's even more terrifying. It was shared on the TikTok account Ogdankshionly, where Sarah usually posts relatable, humorous moments from her everyday life. Her content is lighthearted, casual, and familiar, the kind of videos people watch to unwind. But one upload from the summer of 2022 took a sharply different turn. It was July 16th, 2022. Sarah was on a camping trip with her mother, enjoying what was supposed to be a quiet and peaceful getaway. Like always, she took her dog out for a long walk through the surrounding forest, a routine she knew well and normally felt completely comfortable doing. But partway through the walk, something changed. The atmosphere shifted, and an uneasy feeling began to settle in. Curious and slightly unsettled, Sarah pulled out her phone and started recording.
Fuck. You okay, maybe? Come here. It's okay. I'm fucking scared. It's gonna get dark. It's like literally twilight right now. So, I'm wearing these. I won't be able to run in these. Okay, I don't know whether it's because I'm filming a TikTok, but I'm starting to get really fucking scared. Like, regardless, I have to go over there. It must be an animal.
Suddenly, piercing screams echoed through the forest, loud, raw, unmistakably distressed. The sound came from the exact direction Sarah needed to go. Turning back wasn't an option. Thick vegetation closed in around the narrow path, leaving her with no clear way out except forward. With every step, the screams continued, bouncing off the trees and filling the air. She tried to keep her composure, telling herself it had to be an animal. Something wild, something explainable. That reassurance was the only thing keeping her moving.
Oh my god. Finally sounds like it's back there instead of right in front of me. So, I think I'm in the clear. Someone please tell me what the fuck that noise is. Now I'm just thinking, like, what if it's a dog that's like caught in like some fucking thing? I don't know whether to go find it.
As she put more distance between herself and the initial location of the screams, another unsettling thought crept in. What if it wasn't wildlife at all? What if it was a dog in distress? The cries continued, echoing through the trees, refusing to fade. Torn between fear and concern, Sarah slowed down, cautiously moving toward the sound, hoping to identify the source without putting herself in danger. But that hope vanished almost immediately.
I've come back. I've come back. It's moving around, so like it's now moving around. So like I've walked back because I thought it might be injured, but it's moving around. So it's not in one spot, it's moving and it's... I think it stopped.
Whatever was making the noise wasn't stationary. It was moving, crashing through bushes, shifting positions, circling through the forest. That alone ruled out the idea of a trapped or injured animal. And then, just as the sound seemed to stop, another scream tore through the woods. This one was closer. In that moment, instinct took over. The urge to investigate disappeared entirely, replaced by a sudden, overwhelming sense of danger. Sarah turned and ran. Branches snapped beneath her feet as adrenaline drowned out everything else. She didn't look back. She didn't slow down. She just ran. Eventually, she burst out of the tree line and made it back to the campsite. Shaken, breathless, but safe. The screams never followed her out of the woods, but the memory of them stayed. Long after the forest fell quiet again, Sarah was left questioning what she had encountered out there, and whether whatever had been moving through the trees had been watching her the entire time. Unexplained screams in the woods leave questions behind. In the next clip, those questions deepen when something is caught on camera, and later heard outside a tent. These clips come once again from the YouTube channel Man Dog Wild, run by Daryl, an experienced outdoorsman who often explores remote forests steeped in history. This particular location is an ancient woodland, an area long associated with strange occurrences. Locals have reported unexplained battery drain, phantom footsteps, and even apparitions, events some would describe as paranormal. Now, before getting into what happened later at his campsite, it's important to start with a clip Daryl shared from one of his trail cameras, which he was testing for a review video. At exactly 4:25 a.m., the trail camera detects motion and begins recording. In the footage, a deer moves through the frame, but moments later, what appears to be an orb enters from the bottom right, moving rapidly across the scene as if following the deer, before exiting at the top left. Whether this is dust, an insect reflecting infrared light, or something far more unusual is open to interpretation. But the timing and movement have led many to question whether this could be evidence of something paranormal. Now, earlier that day, unaware of what would happen during the night, Daryl and his dog Yeti began their trip as planned. The day unfolded like any other. They spent the daylight hours exploring the mountain forest, hiking through the terrain without incident, before pitching camp as evening approached. After sunset, the two retreated into their tent, cooked a simple meal, and relaxed. The forest outside was quiet, calm. Once they finished eating, Daryl shut off the lights, zipped the tent closed, and prepared to sleep. That calm didn't last. Footsteps suddenly approached the tent. Slow, deliberate, clearly walking around it. The sound was unmistakable. Something moving just beyond the thin fabric walls. Concerned that someone might be outside his camp, Daryl quickly put his boots back on and prepared to confront whoever was there.
Yeti, let's go. Come on.
When he stepped outside, the forest was empty. No people, no movement, no sounds. Yeti showed no signs of alert or aggression, something she always does when a real presence is nearby. There was simply nothing there. At the time, Daryl convinced himself it must have been his imagination. A trick of the night, maybe the wind. He talked himself down and tried to move on, unwilling to let fear take hold. But later, while reviewing his trail camera footage, something clicked. The sound of those footsteps echoed in his memory, the same uneasy feeling returning all at once. And suddenly, the footage from earlier that morning didn't feel so disconnected anymore. Was there a link between the unexplained movement caught on camera and the footsteps heard outside the tent that night? Was it a coincidence? Or something else entirely? There's no definitive answer, no clear proof. But for Daryl, the possibility was impossible to ignore. It seems the wilderness doesn't reveal its secrets outright. Sometimes it leaves behind moments that linger, unanswered, unsettling, and open to interpretation. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. Not every unsettling moment in the wild is mysterious or unseen. In this final clip, the threat is way more grounded, as it comes from another person. The YouTube channel GGG4Runner is usually about freedom, long dirt roads, remote landscapes, practical advice for camping, overlanding, and life far away from crowds. The channel is run by Roger, an experienced outdoorsman who shares tips, gear setups, and lessons learned from years of traveling off the grid. His videos are calm, thoughtful, and rooted in preparation rather than fear. But one video stood out. Because instead of showing a destination or a trail, Roger shared an experience that forced him to think seriously about something many campers prefer not to dwell on. What happens when the danger doesn't come from wildlife or weather, but from other people? The incident took place during a dispersed camping trip in the Inyo National Forest near Bishop, California. Roger and his wife had settled into a quiet, remote campsite, the kind of place chosen specifically to avoid crowds and noise. The night was calm. The forest was dark. Nothing felt out of place, until just after midnight.
And around midnight, a vehicle came down the hill on the dirt road right next to our campsite. And the guy was hooping and hollering out his window, making these noises like whoop, whoop, whoop. And he just drove by and left. And a few minutes later, a vehicle going up the hill was just laying on his horn, like nonstop all the way up the hill. And a few minutes after that, a third vehicle, maybe one of the other two vehicles, I'm not really sure, came down the hill, stopped about 100 yards away down the road from our campsite, got out of his vehicle and just started screaming profanities and kept saying things like, "How do you like that? How do you like that?" It sounded like this scene from the movie Starship Troopers. Except you replace the sound of gunfire with the F word. And needless to say, after that, my wife and I were on high alert.
The forest no longer felt remote and peaceful. It felt exposed, vulnerable. Every sound now mattered. Every shadow felt closer. Fortunately, nothing escalated beyond the shouting. The man eventually left. No one approached their vehicle. No direct confrontation occurred. But the damage was already done. That night stayed with Roger, not as a single frightening moment, but as a reminder of how quickly a situation can change when you're far from help. In the days that followed, he began reflecting on campsite security, not in a paranoid sense, but in a practical one. Not fear-driven, but experience-driven. Roger makes it clear he isn't a professional and doesn't approach camping with fear or theatrics. What he shares are simple, thoughtful habits meant to reduce risk rather than invite trouble. Small decisions that make a campsite less appealing to anyone with bad intentions. Keeping gear out of sight, locking what's exposed, and choosing campsites before dark all play a role. Situational awareness matters. Noticing who's nearby, reading the atmosphere, and being willing to move on if something feels off. Even subtle details, like appearing not to be alone or having strong lighting ready when needed, can change how vulnerable a campsite appears. He also acknowledges a reality many avoid. Human threats don't announce themselves, and in remote places, help is never as close as you'd like. Security isn't about one solution. It's about layers, preparation, and knowing your options. For some, that means alarms or lighting. For others, legal self-defense tools are used responsibly. There's no single answer, only informed choices. It's also important to note that even though this encounter never escalated further, no one approached the campsite, no confrontation occurred, and Roger didn't capture any footage of the incident itself. It's still exactly why this story belongs here. Not every warning comes with dramatic visuals or a clear threat. Sometimes it's the moments that almost turn bad that offer the most valuable lessons. Roger's message wasn't fear, it's realism. Most nights in the wild pass without incident, but the ones that don't are the reason preparation matters. Let this be a reminder that when you choose isolation, you also choose responsibility. To stay aware, to trust your instincts, and to be prepared for the worst, even if it never comes. Because out there, far from lights and help, awareness isn't optional. It's what keeps a quiet night from becoming a dangerous one. And with that in mind, we head straight into the final encounter from the channel Lost Lakes, where those preparations maybe also could have prevented the dangerous situation. The YouTube channel Lost Lakes, run by Aaron and John, is built around a deep respect for nature and the quiet beauty of backcountry camping in Canada. Their videos usually capture calm moments in remote places, lakes hidden far from roads, long canoe routes, and nights defined by stillness rather than fear. But one night, John experienced something very different. This wasn't a planned video. There was no setup, no intention to document anything unusual. John was camping alone, just off Highway 101 near Chapleau, a place that feels deceptively accessible on a map but is surrounded by vast, isolated wilderness. It's also an area known for something else. It's considered the black bear capital of the world. Sometime after 3 a.m., John woke up and couldn't fall back asleep. At first, there was nothing obviously wrong. Then, around 3:30, he started to hear it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, moving back and forth around his tent.
Well, I am living every solo camper's nightmare right now. There appears to be an animal of some kind pacing around my tent. It's the middle of the night. I woke up at 3 a.m. and just couldn't sleep. And then around 3:30, I started to hear this pacing sound. And 45 minutes later, it's still pacing around out there. So I'm gonna talk it out with the GoPro and maintain sanity, and maybe the talking will make it go away.
Minutes passed, then more time, and the sound didn't stop. Whatever was outside wasn't just passing through, it was staying, circling, testing the space. That's when the reality of solo camping sets in. There's no one else to confirm what you're hearing, no second opinion, no quick reassurance, just darkness, thin fabric, and sound.
So this is some very remote country, despite being right off the highway, and it's the black bear capital of the world, so I'm thinking that's a possibility. To keep the paranoia away, as I call it, we got three main tools. If you're a solo camper, I think these are well worth having with you. Even in the backcountry, it's a little extra weight, but a little air horn. That's the first line of defense, along with the headlamp. The bright light can be a good tool in trying to blind an animal that has much better night vision than ours, but would be very sensitive to light. Second line of defense, if the thing starts poking its nose at the tent, then I have got this little hatchet here, which I could whack it with this like sheath on, and worst case take the sheath off. And then last line of defense, you might think this would be the second one, is the bear spray. If I use the bear spray in the tent, I'm going to get blinded and incapacitated, probably more than, let's say, a bear. If it is a bear, if it were to try and raid my tent, I'm probably going to get the worst of it. The idea being that hopefully it also gets hit and runs away, and then I can just recover in safety.
John kept talking to the camera, not to document the moment, but to keep himself calm. He explained that sometimes speaking out loud can help scare animals away. Other times, it simply helps keep your thoughts from spiraling. The location made the situation more unsettling. The ground was covered in gravel, part of a small boat launch near the lake. Every step outside the tent was clearly audible. There was no mistaking movement for wind or branches. And then came the worst realization.
And my car is literally right outside there, but I can't find my car key for the life of me. I think I may have left it in the car. So while I'm tempted to hop out and get in the car, turn on my headlights, that's not an option right now because I'm an idiot and I can't find my key.
The pacing continued, and his night was far from over.
The talking isn't making it go away, but it hasn't made a move toward the tent yet, so I don't know. Maybe it's just curious, and maybe it's biding its time for an attack. I don't know. So a few bonus items. Something literally just touched my tent before I turned on the camera, but I don't think it's whatever is making that noise. It was probably just a mouse or something. But I'm not really appreciated right now. Second, there's no cell signal here. And third, I have to pee.
Whether it was a mouse or something far larger that brushed against the tent, it didn't matter at that moment. Because in the dark, uncertainty is its own threat. There was no cell service, no way to call for help. And to add to the surreal nature of the situation, exhaustion slowly began to creep back in. And after more than an hour of tension, John found himself almost drifting off again, a strange reminder of how the brain adapts, even when danger might still be nearby. Eventually, the night began to break. The sky lightened. The sounds faded. Whatever had been pacing the tent never made a full move. No attack, no clear answer. And by morning, John was safe. This encounter didn't end in escalation. There's no dramatic footage of an animal, no definitive proof of what stood outside that tent in the dark. But that's exactly why this story matters. Because most dangerous moments in the wilderness don't come with clear visuals or loud conclusions. They come quietly, ambiguously, and they test not just your gear, but your composure. Sometimes maintaining sanity is just as important as maintaining safety. Out there, in the dark, with nothing but a thin wall between you and the unknown, staying calm might be the thing that gets you through until morning. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.